is 4:30, so we'll go ahead and get the work session up and going. Thank everybody for being here. In celebration of preparation for our Monday, we will start off with meeting with Save the Dogs and open that up in fashion for a work session. Got department head updates we'll dive into. I know I've talked to a couple people about providing some information. I'm going to get Paula to open us up because I do know that we've got one thing we need to get in consideration before our next meeting. So I'll get that one first.
Okay, we need to talk about considering whether or not for 2023 that we're going to offer any COVID pay. In the last 2 years, we have, even after the government, it required it the first year, we've offered 80 hours per year with a positive test result. The guidelines have changed a little bit and are a good bit. And the current guidelines, as far as I know, you can come back to work after 5 days as long as your symptoms have improved. You've been without a fever for 24 hours and you continue wearing a mask for 10 days. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so I was going to suggest whether if y'all wanted to maybe do away with it or either move it down to 5 days. And I've done a survey on our listserv, and I got back 23 responses. And there were 20 that are not offering it anymore, and then 3 that are, but it's 5 days.
And then capped it down to 5. So I know this has been ongoing. When we had the conversation last year, they were just starting to change guidance, but we were still in the middle of an outbreak last January too, when the previous one expired. So because we were still under a pretty serious outbreak at that time, we continued it to not scale it back at that point. It's, I think, been very well appreciated for the ones that have had it, for sure. But we were still offering it based on 2 weeks of needing to be able to be out for 2 weeks versus 1 week because the original 14-day quarantine and all the stuff with the way they had it. And I know that they were showing several. And I know this is something that we don't have on the agenda to vote on tonight, but wanted to get it in each of y'all's hands that we would consider it before our next meeting, whether I'm making a change in our second meeting.
And that I'm aware of, we have 4 employees in the county now that's at the
4 that are currently at one. So it's not gone away. And I think the encouragement, as I'm coughing, I did test negative for COVID. I tested negative for everything. But I think the intent was to encourage people not to come to work so that we keep from spreading it. So I think that to still be able to offer that for that 5-day period so that we don't, if somebody's low on sick leave, that they don't just refuse to tell us they've got COVID and come to work anyway, and then the 911 center has an outbreak and everyone out there down in one fire station gets it and it'll spread like wildfire in a lot of settings. So I personally like the idea of keeping it and having the 5-day, just kind of bringing that back down from the 10-day down to the 5-day. But that's my opinion as we prepare to go through and vote. It's just basically an additional sick leave that requires a positive confirmation. But I think the more we encourage people to stay home when they do have it, it is a good thing. Because we do have people that will come to work. Some of you are just workaholics and will work no matter what because I think y'all don't like being at home. But the rest of you, that if you're just low on leave or something that are there that can create that issue. So the more we can encourage people to not bring it in, I think helps. In my opinion, but I'm not gonna. We didn't put it on the agenda tonight. We were gonna leave it for the second meeting in January to vote. I just wanted to get it on the table. Okay. All right. Paula brought it to my attention that we needed to get it on the table for the discussion. Paula's the one that.
You're saying it's Paula's.
It's Paula's. I'm giving credit to Paula. But then in reaching out and finding out, I was surprised at the number of counties that had took it out completely. I really would have thought most would have kept some version in place, but a lot of them have took it out completely. So that's just kind of basing it on that information. And if more respond to her listserv, then I'll get her to forward that information out to each of you between now and the next meeting. In 2 weeks. So, any questions specific on that?
How many sick days do county employees get currently?
It's 10 per year.
And what happens when those are exhausted?
They would have to use their
Short-term
annual leave or leave without pay.
Or if they're in sick bay.
Well, he's saying if they, I don't know, could we even, that wouldn't classify as a sick bank qualified eligible thing, because it would take more than the 5 days to get it approved, so.
Unless it was somebody in.
But you have 10 sick days currently.
I'm sorry.
10 sick days currently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. We'll have that on the agenda for a voting item for our next meeting, so we'll put that on there. All right, so who else would like to go next? You normally volunteer, so I just looked at it.
Okay. We had a slow month and a 33.7% drop in what we normally do. However, that's still not far off from last year's December. But overall, and I'll go ahead through the deal. We had 46 permits, 8 site built, 6 mobile homes, 14 miscellaneous, 1 commercial, and 17 renewals. A lot of renewals going on. People can't build a house in a year anymore. It's amazing. We have some going for 3 years. But for the end of the year, we had a 7% increase overall from 2021. So we had 791 building permits in 2022. 64 mobile homes, 235 site built, 275 miscellaneous, and those are usually additions, 28 commercial and 189 renewals. And that's for the end of 2022. Anything else? I have my charts and our Ashley's charts and all the pictures and arrows and things in your packet. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all saying it. And I like the second one that we got right after we got the first one. So we made sure if we were reading them on the first one to see if on the second one we caught the
That was
You would have caught it.
I wouldn't have caught it. If you hadn't explained it, I would have missed it the second time you said it. So, y'all have any on your meeting for next month lined up for
Yes.
rezone? Because I know we did.
One.
Just one on the next.
One so far, we have to the 28th, right? Okay, that'll be for the following meeting, so yeah, one coming.
One for the upcoming. Okay.
But it's a double, it's a conditional use on it.
Okay. All right. Kurt, since you had over 4 inches of rain in a 24-hour period, I figured you probably got some fun stuff.
Following the snow. It's been rather busy in my department the last few weeks. I thought I did real good knowing that it was Thursday and we had a meeting today and I actually made it on time.
I missed a meeting yesterday because I forgot it was Wednesday. I thought it was Tuesday, so.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd like to thank all the guys. They put in some long hours during the snow and did a lot of ice, snow removal and salting the roads and all. We covered a lot of ground in a very short time with that, and then had 4 inches of rain right on the heels of that. So today we're cleaning out ditches and pipes, and about all of them are stopped up in Pickens County, and we will get to them just as quick as we can. And that's what the guys are working on. But next week, I was going to put out there that I mentioned it before, Henderson Mountain, right past where we did the pipe last month, we're going to have to put in an additional pipe. We're going to do that next Tuesday and Wednesday. It'll be the 10th and the 11th. And we'll be putting out notifications and signs and whatnot. Hopefully that's going to be a pretty quick turnaround on it. It's a lot smaller pipe than what the other one was, but we're going to plan on Tuesday and Wednesday, and hopefully we'll get it done quicker than that. But that's the plan right now. That's about it right now.
I know I got a ton of compliments from people on the snow and ice, how good a job you guys did at getting things cleared back up and opening back up, and the hot spots that needed it overnight, they had crews out there getting those overnight. So I echo the appreciation for getting out there quick and getting it cleared, because that wasn't the best of working conditions.
Once it started, well, we had the cold before, and that morning I was on top of the mountain. It was 2 degrees that morning whenever we started, and then the wind picked up.
Yeah.
And that was during one of our salt or brine operations. I don't even remember what we were doing at the time, but then that night it come in at 9 o'clock, and we were out till 2:30 the next morning, and then crews come in just right before daylight the next day, and everybody was out salting and plowing then, so it's a pretty big operation, but
Cleared quick.
everybody did a good job. Our equipment held up well this time, or we got to run our new salt spreader, and everything is for what size it was, it went off real smooth.
Well, I thank you very much personally for coming to rescue.
Opening up options.
Opening up options.
I
So,
will say, while I was just sitting here, I got a Facebook message. If y'all saw me typing a second ago, it was from somebody on the West End, posting a thank you for Stanley Dolke and the crew for all the great work they've done since the storms and water damaged the road and ditch on the west end of Pickens County for the last couple of days. A lot of hard work goes unnoticed by this department. Please thank them for their work.
Yep, we would
Thank you,
appreciate
guys.
it.
That's a mulkey that sent
I was
that.
fixing to say,
It was not, but
It was not. I think they've done good. I give Kirk a hard time because normally when Tanner's crew is on call is when we have the worst weather. And it wasn't during the winter time, it was mulkeys that had it. So then I called him when it started raining so hard the other day and I said, Tanner's on call tonight, isn't he? He said, yes, he is. Any road department questions?
Thanks for all y'all's
Yeah,
work.
appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Excellent work. I know Philip said that the company came and worked on the brine machine and got it all back on to where we're prepared for the next waves if they ever come. Hopefully for 2024.
maybe, fingers crossed,
Yeah.
but we
All
are
right.
starting on Brian, so.
Yep.
We got enough for
Got
another
it stocked
round.
and ready.
We got enough for another round.
Yeah. Mr. Jones, I'll think on you. I know y'all have opened up registration for about everything on the planet. So.
Yep, so I got basketball going on probably for the rest of this month and maybe into the 1st of February. And then baseball, softball, and t-ball registration is going on right now. We'll run that till about the middle of February as well. While we were on break, we shut the gyms down for a day and got pickleball lines actually painted on the court. If you haven't had a chance to come out and look at that, it looks like it's always been there. For years, we've been using tape on the floor, and it took us about a day and a half just to get all the sticky residue up to get ready to paint. But the crew that we found to come and do it came and knocked it out in a day, and it looks awesome. It looks really, really good. Update on the lights. We do have lights on fields 2 and 3. The problem that North Cobb has run into is that there is a back order of the switches, which will electrify fields 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm working with North Cobb. They're possibly going to try to do a workaround to get us those lights on until the switches come in. And then once the switches come in, they'll install them and then we'll be up and running completely. But there's been a little snag with that. So hopefully, we got fields 2 and 3 so we can at least get through evaluations, but we're hoping that we'll get the rest of the fields lit sooner rather than later.
And if they're able to wire those around like that, it basically just means when you cut one field on, it's going to cut on that whole row. You wouldn't be able to individually.
Potentially, yes, sir.
control
Yeah.
it. So, and then come back and add that.
Yeah, it's going to look completely different down there.
Yeah.
So we're excited about it.
I'll point this out on Brian's behalf that when you see a deadline for registration for any sport, there has to be a deadline in order to move forward because it's almost a guarantee that the week after the deadline, everybody's going to call and raise Cain, and when they tell them, I'm sorry, you passed the deadline, they're going to call my office or they're going to call these gentlemen and try to complain that they were refused. We have to have a cutoff. It's not to try to be mean, but we can't start to finish finalizing that process. So we'll put the word out every way we can, but there is a cutoff and the deadline is the deadline. So
The biggest issue we have is the uniform order. When you're ordering 400 something uniforms, that's a shirt, pants, belt, and a hat, and then you've got 20 people come after registration, it's too confusing and it puts a lot of strain on our provider. That's why we put the dates out as quickly as we do. Here in a couple of days, I'll be sending a flyer out to every single child in Pickens County. I'll take them all to the school systems and they'll get dispersed to try to get the word out. But once we close it down and we send that uniform order off, we got to wait till everything gets in, have practice, and then we got to move on with our season.
Yeah.
So, but thank you for. Hopefully that will help too
it's a
as
pretty
well.
regular phone call every sport. So it's we try to do everything we can to say the deadline's there for a reason. So it's not just trying to be mean. Oh, any related questions? All right, next up.
I guess I'll go with it. So this year we closed out recycling, shipped out of the whole facility, it was 1.2 million pounds, about 100,000 pounds shy of what we did last year. But the resale value was a lot more greater, so we made more money off of it. Mixed paper, we shipped out 365,000 pounds from Pickens. Plastic, we shipped out 70,000. Cardboard, we shipped out over 500,000 pounds. Metal, we shipped out 272,000 pounds. And then we shy of 35,000 pounds for aluminum. So we actually, even though we recycled less than we did last year, the prices sold higher. And then the recession's hit us right now, so right now we're actually sitting on what would have pushed us way over what we did last year. We're sitting on about 300,000 pounds of product right now waiting for everything turns around. Because I don't want to give it away. That's where it's at right now, so it gets a giveaway. And then after we come back from Christmas, we worked in 3 days. We baled 10,000 pounds of cardboard in 1 week and 5,000 pounds of wrapping paper from Christmas presents. And then like this week, we've done about the same thing. So it's been rough the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
A lot of catching up,
So hung up on the 33,000 pounds of aluminum, that's impressive.
A lot of aluminum. A lot of aluminum.
Recycling, I know we've got on our agenda for the meeting at 5:30 to approve the signing of the grant where Kenny actually did the work to get the grant for the glass crusher. So he completed all the paperwork and submitted it to the state and got it on there, and then we'll sign the authorization paperwork after our meeting tonight. We need to get that approved. But that'll provide a brand new glass crusher with zero match from county. It'll all be paid by the EPD. So all we gotta do is put a pad on the ground. And from what I understand, you're gonna use some of our crushed glass to help build the pad.
Yep, we're gonna build the pads out of our glass.
So we're gonna use our product in this pad, so it'll actually work out kinda neat. Hopefully.
Hopefully not. It'll work.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. Any other? All right. Who else we got? You can tell it's the first meeting of the year and everybody's kind of sitting in long mode. We'll start continue to gather all the statistics and data for every department over the next couple of weeks and start preparing kind of a report that shows year end of everything. But it's being 5 days into the year, we won't have all that compiled completely. Audit stuff. I think that another item on our agenda for the 5:30 meeting is the engagement letter for Rushton to get back in and start getting the audit completed, and they're starting a lot earlier this year than we did last year, so we'll be able to get them up and going. That'll be our financial data for the year end. We'll be able to give out once that audit report's completed, so we'll have that at the end of that period of time, and we'll have quite a bit of information coming between now and I would say April would be about the time we'll have everything full for hopefully annual report worthy, and we'll get that up and going. I think ones that I knew that I wanted to pinpoint and ask a question to, but Mark, I would like to say thanks to you for doing some of the best updates in social media information on the storms, with ranging from the cold weather all the way through the rain. The best description of the tornado watch versus warning I've seen probably is that anything with how to make a taco. So it worked out well. It got the people's attention. It was shared more than any post in a long time. So excellent job getting that out. Tim, I know that you've been doing a great job on the fire side too, getting public information out for your department and getting it. And I couldn't thank y'all enough for how well you've done it. Kind of keeping the community informed. The ones that are willing to be informed, y'all done a great job. Mary and Dan sharing the information that's coming out. I know No Pickens has shared each of those posts to help kind of get it much more exposure as it's been going. So that's been very, very positive. It's been my limited time through the holidays that I've been on social media was to look and see where everybody was putting that information out. I try to take a break from negative for a little while every now and then, and I spend a little less time scrolling through, but I try to keep up with what those are that are out there.
The negative comments have died down somewhat.
That's good. If we can just keep that up, that'd be nice. All right, any other department heads? with an update or anything that you'd like to provide?
Yeah, I'll just throw this out there. We scaved, through the cold. We had minor issues, and we found a few problems that we're gonna work on this year to try to alleviate if this weather happens again, which everybody knows that cold, frigid air don't happen all the time, but we did find a few issues that will prevent us once we take care of it this year. We recovered, I think, fully last weekend or this past weekend, and then the rains come and we had a customer had a 2.5 inch line blow out and we lost about a half a tank.
In warm weather.
And in warm weather, and so we got that, and we recovered overnight. We recovered last night with it, and so we're getting back to where we should be. We've also Lonnie has worked his hind end off since he's come aboard with us. What, a month ago? 2 months ago. Starting our foundation for our GIS. And he's been working with Christie, and him and Christie's been working together, getting all the data compiled for the kickoff, I guess, or Lonnie building and designing it. And so hopefully within a couple months we'll be able to give you, or Lonnie will be able to give you a better update on that. He's took off and run with it, and so he's done a fine job if ain't nobody ever seen it. Between him and Christie, I think that's the two best that could build a GIS system. And with them two working on it, I think Pickens County is going to have one of the best that's going to be out there available. So, thank y'all for allowing me to have him come aboard with us.
Glad to have him. We've got him to clean up his act a little bit. He's trimmed his beard. Santa
has left the building.
We got him past Christmas, and he's like he was a professional again. So, coming from the gallery, shaggy beard, just like that. One of the things, and I know we've all gotten emails from one of the subdivisions, as the pumps, some different grants that became available for generators, all but one of our water pump areas throughout the county have generators on them. One we ordered, Philip had actually submitted the purchase request and everything on it back in January of 22. And it keeps getting delayed because the size of the generator is one of the really large generators to control 3 pumps, and it's off Matthews Road in the subdivision out there. It's been delayed. They've kind of tentatively gave us a May date now that we will have that generator. There's been some talks about trying to go ahead and get a transfer switch installed where we can rent one of the larger ones from one of the equipment rental companies if an event occurred again where the power goes out for any extended period of time. That was the one during the winter storm issue we had with water. Really wasn't a water related issue, it was a power related issue. The one tank that we know, or the one pump that we don't have a generator for, when they lost power, that generator, that pump lost power too. So about 40 homes were without water until the power came back on and it could pump that over the elevation change point. So it's been in the works for a long time. It's not something that's been ignored. He immediately ordered the generator in January of 22. It's not been something we've ignored. We're having a hard time getting the equipment in. So it's an 18-month turnaround at this point if they deliver when they say they will. And we'll have that in place, but we know with spring coming and the west end of the county sometimes being prone to some power outages for other reasons, we want to make sure that we've got a plan of action that if this were to happen again, we can flip the power on it. And we're working through that as we speak. So
I'm going to actually reach out to Clayton next week or Monday and see if we can go ahead and get that transfer switch as soon as it comes in. And we've actually got some pigtails that we've already got and see if we can put them on, and then go ahead and reach out to a couple rental companies. We do have a portable generator, but it's not big enough to pull that station. It's just a 50 kW, and we got to have 100 kW. So I'm gonna reach out. I've got a couple rental companies that I'm gonna go ahead and reach out to and see if I can get an agreement with them. If we see bad weather or severe weather coming, we'll go ahead and get that generator, have it on standby. You know, and just because you got underground power does not mean your power's gonna not go out. I mean, that was the whole issue this whole last storm was underground power. It wasn't overhead, it was underground. So, yeah, we may have to spend a little bit, but I'd rather have that generator on standby versus not having it or having to wait, you know, so
Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and work on that next week and get that in place.
So if you do get more comments on it, and I tried to provide that as an answer to it was one resident kind of spoke on behalf of the neighborhood, so whenever I provided an answer, I was told by other neighbors it was shared throughout there, and I didn't get any feedback. But if they do, that's, we're trying. It's not something that we've tried to push off. And then the other was an area of the control of the water tank levels that he's talked about, and we're working on some plans to try to enclose that to where if the weather gets that cold, that those copper lines don't freeze up. We've learned something new this time, that fiber optics can freeze when the temperature drops low enough. I know one of the telecommunications companies lost fiber line, and internet went down pretty much countywide for all their customers on Christmas Eve, including our 911 center and some other places. So if you weren't aware fiber could freeze, fiber can freeze. We found that out here in this last one, but they did get it up quick. They were able to find a solution pretty fast and get it back online.
Put us back on call.
Another generator issue was the tower for the repeater on Christmas Eve as well. All the repeaters for all the radios for fire and sheriff's office had gone down, so they were doing some workarounds till they got that generator back up and going and got it back online. So it's typical winter storm stuff, but it all seemed to happen at once, and it's always on a holiday when everybody's trying to be at home and getting out and trying to get it fixed. So we appreciate your commitment very, very much. Very, very much. So, general discussion wise, do y'all have any other things that you want to throw out? Anything on your heart?
Hope everybody have a Merry Christmas.
I decided some stuff earlier today, and I've learned that the whole January of every year, worst time of the year for me to try to date anything, just because I can't remember. I'm scratching out my 2s and writing 3s, so hopefully we'll all catch up to that. Well, if we have nothing further, we'll adjourn the work session. We do have our 5:30 regular meeting that's coming up. So thank you again for everybody for being here, and we'll close it when we open it. Good.